Walking in an exaggerated manner around the perimeter of a square comes from a series of black and white films Bruce Nauman made in his studio during the late 60s. He used 16mm film to capture his activities because at the time he had no situation to present them as performance pieces. Michael Rush categorizes Nauman and other concept-based performance artists like Vito Acconci as belonging to a group of early video artists who were interested in intra-art issues like the ideas of time as a medium, technology, the introduction of the everyday into art making, and the intermingling of the other arts such as music, theater, and most importantly for Nauman, dance.
Rosalind Krauss directly references Nauman in her watershed essay video, The Aesthetics of Narcissism. She says that his tapes are another example of the double effect of performance for the monitor, much like Vito Acconci's Airtime and Centers. This deals with the ideas of self-encapsulation and mirror reflection. It is also notable that Nauman illustrates the idea of performance as enacting a text, as something which existed before the performance itself. In his case, the text that he is enacting is the choreography of his walking.
In this particular film, Nauman does exactly what the title suggests. He slowly walks around the perimeter of a square for 10 minutes. Sometimes he changes his direction or walks backwards, but his motion remains constant as the everyday activity of walking is broken down into a series of detached movements. He sways his hips and places one foot in front of the other, almost as if executing a slow-motion catwalk. Yeah. Although slightly boring, Nauman wanted to explore the relationship between tension and repetitive motion. He stated, "If you really believe in what you're doing and you do it as well as you can, then there will be a certain amount of tension. If you are honestly getting tired, or if you are honestly trying to balance on one foot for a long time, there has to be a certain sympathetic response in someone who is watching you. It is a kind of body response that they feel in that foot and that tension." Nauman thought about this activity in terms of modern dance, which after the 1950s became increasingly involved in exploring and utilizing the elements of daily life. He stated, "The films and videotapes were specifically about doing exercises in balance. I thought about them as dance problems without being a dancer. The influence of Merce Cunningham is essential to walking in an exaggerated manner. Cunningham sometimes used untrained dancers and incorporated the banal movements of everyday activities into his choreography. Germano Sassant characterizes Cunningham's approach to dance as an objective and impersonal reconstruction, where dance is reduced to an accumulation of facts, spaces, objects, and actions. Every motion has a significance, and every variety of motion, no matter how ordinary or banal, can be considered to be dance. He elevates the importance of basic motions, like Nauman, who elevates the importance of walking, one of the most basic of daily activities."
The repetitive, mundane movements were also influenced by music, specifically the works of Terry Riley, Philip Glass, and Steve Reich, all of whom were interested in seriality and repetition in music. Check out Steve Reich. The square on which he performs these actions is an arbitrary shape. Its function is to help direct his movements and to formalize his exercises. A part of the square is cropped out of the frame, and as Nauman walks, he disappears for periods of time. It is also important to note the presence of the mirror on the back wall. Mirrors are used frequently by early video artists like Dan Graham and Joan Jonas. Pamela Lee discusses the function of mirrors in Jonas's work in particular as a way of exposing the delay between the body's movement and its representation. However, for Nauman, the mirror functions differently. It shows his actions from a different angle and gives the viewer a different perspective on the solitary artist in his studio.
This video inevitably does not have a climactic moment, which means that it can be at times boring and long and tedious, ultimately challenging to some viewers. However, if you can get drawn into the rhythm of the activity, like Nauman wanted you to in the first place, it can be downright interesting.